Dr. Eric Hickey is a criminal psychologist at Walden University. He has studied serial killers, sexual predators, and crime scene investigations for years, and he is joining us live tonight. It is hard for anyone to wrap their minds around this case and others like it. Dr. Hickey, victimology is a term I know you're very familiar with. Explain what that means and how you would apply it to a case like this.
In the case of serial murder, offenders choose certain types of victims. Often it's a crime of opportunity. They have a certain victim in mind. They fantasize about this victim, a type of victim, and so when the opportunity arises, then they will take advantage of them. In these cases, it appears that he's finding them online. He lures them to motels. They have no idea, and they're unsuspecting. He finds people who are very nice, takes advantage of them. So the victimology is victims have profiles. They can be unsuspecting people. They don't ever think about that the people could be that evil and that monstrous. And so he's obviously preying upon people who can take advantage of it very easily.
Police do believe, as you heard there, that there could be more victims of the shopping cart killer, as they're calling him. Where would investigators focus that part of the search right now? And do you believe with 4 at this point, there could be more?
Well, certainly there could be more, and there probably are. I think that they will certainly, because of the way he was disposing of them, he was rather limited in where he was traveling to, luring them online. There are many sites now where people can hook up online and meet. Tinder and Grindr, and there's many other sites that some people go to, and I have no idea how these victims actually met him. But certainly there are more and more opportunities given our social media venues that we have today. We've seen a real evolution in serial murder. It used to be just people preying out at night, walking around and finding people. Now, many offenders go online to find their victims and then lure them to certain locations. So I think people have to be very, very cautious about who they meet. There's some of this fantasy, if I can meet someone online, but they'll like me for some reason. Well, there are a lot of good people who meet online, but there's also predators who go online. And I think that's a real lesson to other people who are listening in, that they are very, very cautious about who they go out with.
The dark side of the internet. My mind immediately went to potential missing person cases and that database. How will police scour that and cross-reference any missing people, particularly missing women, in that area?
Well, they'll certainly go through all the DNA from these victims. They'll see if there's any matches. The law enforcement keeps a real good supply of evidence that they keep for a long, long time to see if they can match up. There's been cases after 50 years that they've been able to solve because of DNA. And so once they start to match them up, then there definitely could be more victims, and which is really, really tragic. But there are many people in the United States who go missing and aren't found for years. And unfortunately, that is the case that we have here.
Dr. Hickey, a lot of these killers feed off attention and media coverage. We saw it with the BTK killer decades ago, sending messages and letters to local media. It's a challenge that we face reporting these types of cases because we want to get the information out there and also not giving a platform and a voice to these killers. What have you found in your studies is the prudent approach to cover these types of cases?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. Certainly, we have to keep the public aware that there could be an offender in the area. That's really important. On the other side of the coin, you can see where law enforcement is coming from. We don't want to start a panic in a community where maybe these aren't linked together. And so I think more and more we're seeing that when law enforcement can determine that they actually are linked, that they will then inform the public to be on their guard. We're seeing more victim linkage, if you will, to these types of crimes. So it's a community effort. I think if you see something that's suspicious, often serial killers will say, people just looked at me, they didn't assume that I was a bad person. And yes, and some of them do want to be recognized in the public. Others want to be off the radar. Others looking for attention, like BTK. They want to be heard. The Unabomber, for example, was a man who desperately wanted to be heard, and eventually, of course, he ended up killing 3 people and blowing up several others. So there'll always be those types of people out there, and we just have to be mindful that there are people, and just because they seem like nice people doesn't mean that they actually are. So I certainly encourage people, especially this time of year when people are being happy and they're going out mingling with the public, that
Right.
there are predators in our midst.
And in Cheyenne's case, it sounds like she was being trusting and trying to be a kind person in giving
Yes.
this man, Mr. Robinson, a place to stay. Tragic and troubling. There's a lot, though, we can learn. Dr. Eric Hickey, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.